one thing's for serious. How long did it take for Kurt to make an ass of himself after your video?
From what I understand, after the video, the first part went up, he immediately said, I'm going off Twitter. Before that, he had said that some alt-right lunatic was coming after him. And then once the second video went up, he went on a tweeting spree of like 100 tweets freaking out. And now we are where we are today. So I don't know. But yeah, the J curve really holds up pretty well.
I understand that the Diversity in Comics made a tweet saying people should not send him messages to send him into a strobe, and it's not a dog whistle. And he interpreted that as a dog whistle.
I don't understand what Kurt's mindset is when it comes to interacting with people on social media. I do find it funny, though, that this is somebody who was talking about talking to district attorneys in Texas or talking to the FBI, when I'm fairly certain it's illegal to post the social security numbers of lawmakers on social media, and then to also talk about them in a way that's alluding to physical violence like gunfights and bazookas, or
What
talking
was
about their
that?
children.
What was that? I heard that on your video, and it wasn't clear to me. Who was this politician, and why did he do that?
From what I understand, the backstory to that is people were pushing for, I think, anti-gun legislation or some changes to the gun codes in the state. The main people that were the driving force behind it, this politician said, hey, you should call them up and say you don't agree with this. So Kurt saw that and said, you can't dox people. You can't put their phone numbers up. I know how I'll teach you a lesson. I'm going to find out where your children live, where your wife is, who your neighbors are, and then I'm going to post your social security number. So that's amazing to me. I don't think any of us sitting in this call right now or anybody listening could post the social security number of a lawmaker and not be immediately thrown off of Twitter for doing it.
Yeah, I think worse than that. I think in some cases Secret Service might get involved. I mean, that's pretty out there. Pretty
You'd imagine,
outlandish,
wouldn't you?
Kurt.
Yeah.
I remember. I remember during Gamergate there was this SJW who doxed someone that actually worked for the Secret Service, and they considered it to be a national risk, so they arrested the guy. Do you remember that, Jim?
No, there was so much weird stuff going on at the time. I mean, it was kind of like a back and forth. You had two different opposing sides, but then you had like a third group that was just there to throw Molotovs and have laughs. So you could never really tell where something was coming from. But there were some pretty crazy stories. But I think the remarkable thing here is this isn't just internet people doing this. This is a award-winning journalist, somebody with 2 decades worth of experience doing investigative journalism, who's won, I think, 3 or 4 awards for it and been recognized by his peers, doxing a lawmaker and posting his social security number. It's mind-blowing to me.
Well, and harassing my friend, a comic book fan and critic. And basically, by the way, I didn't send you this little exchange that I had with Kurt before, but basically what he did was he admitted to me that he didn't just stumble upon the fight between Rebel Woman and Diversity in Comics. He's a fan, and he's a big fan of Diversity in Comics. And so, he basically cooked up this scheme that he would kind of interrupt this one little moment here, stand with Diversity in Comics against the SJWs, and then in return for that, Diversity in Comics was supposed to produce a series of videos, just a series of videos that would basically exonerate Kurt over the child pornography allegations. That's what he expected to happen.
That's amazing on its own. You know, in the first part when I was talking about the Justin Berry case, the thing that stuck out to me most, and that's why I focused on it most, was the notion that Kurt had been paying money to a source for a story. You know, you had 2 payments that were made under different names, there were different means. They were obfuscated. You know, they were hidden from the editor, from from the outlet itself, from the readers, that eventually came out in court. And it's still stunning to me that Ingracio or somebody else at the New York Times didn't go back and look again at the email that was sent from one of the convicted pedophiles involved in this, from their mother, saying that Kurt had sent, several $1,000s through another method entirely, through FedEx, which I'm not 100% what that means, but does that mean there's a tracking number? You know, is there a record of it? Are there bank statements of it? Nobody looked into that, really.
That's spooky.
Well, yeah, it is spooky. And, it kind of casts a cloud of doubt around the investigation itself. I mean, here's a guy who said he met this kid, gave him a small business loan before he decided to do a story, which is bizarre enough on its own. And then, lo and behold, the website kicks up again. One of the other pedophiles that was convicted claims that the site was hosting child porn after, this influx of money. and now he's got something to write about. But oh no, it was only 2,000. Then it was 3,100. But don't listen to Mitchell's mother. There wasn't another couple $1,000s. So just really
Whoa.
shady, weird stuff.
Is it possible that an innocent man was sent to jail over this shit?
Oh no, I'm sure they're guilty of sin. I don't get me wrong. I don't think any of these people involved in this, Mitchell or the others, are innocent in any way. But what I'm curious about, and I'm not making any allegations here, I'm just asking questions. Yeah, I'm going to Glenn Beck this to protect myself. But what I'm curious about is, did the money facilitate the story? Did giving that money to Justin Berry and his associates, because that PayPal account was shared, did that provide the impetus for them to restart the business, to rehost child porn, allowing Kurt now to have a better story and to get convictions? So, I don't know what's going on there, but I really wish somebody would have followed it up more. The only outlet that really was asking those sorts of questions was NPR. They're the ones that really called it out. Nobody else really focused on that specifically.
I just like, my favorite thing about this is the strobe situation. It just seems like one of those like Batman moves where you just throw a smoke bomb and run away. Like literally that's what it is. Because I mean he's doing it again right now. Even though your video came out and you utilized a little bit of a conversation that I had with Kurt in private. Kurt came to me basically and said, I want to talk to you because Zach is ignoring me. Like Diversity Comics is not responding to my threats of a lawsuit lest he make this series of videos. He came to me and tried to get me to kind of talk to him on behalf. And I was like, well, look, I know him, and it's like if you sue him like maliciously, it's going to be dangerous for him. It'll cost money, even if it's a frivolous lawsuit. Money he doesn't have. He's a single dad. So I was just like, just knock it off. Just don't play with this guy. He doesn't need this. And he basically tried to get me to go to him and just, I don't know, convince him to make videos about him. And Zach, to his credit, wasn't having any of this.
Well, good.
But
I'm glad he stood his ground on that.
he was so cool. He was just like, I said, okay, so all I have to do you want me to call, this guy on? I mean, this is the kind of bully mentality that we're dealing with here. Hey, we're just YouTubers. I mean, we're just, I'm a comic book artist. He's a YouTuber. We don't have Vanity Fair money. And it's like a lawsuit like that would really cripple somebody like him. I mean, frivolously. So would you want me to like call Kurt on your behalf and I'll listen to whatever he has to say, relay it to you, and then it'll be over with, which is what Kurt wanted us to do. He wanted me to just he wanted to yell at me and then have me relay that to Diversity in Comics. And he just said no. It was like, he said no like 3 times. I don't understand,
and it's really weird in his story. If you have a medical condition that makes you foam at the mouth and fall on the ground while your wife angrily types at the twatter that you gave her husband a stroke, why is he on the Twitter? Why is he still on the computer clicking links?
Oh, a better question, V, would be that you can turn off autoplay on media within the settings on Twitter. And so I'm sure Kurt, having a seizure condition, is well aware of that, meaning that if somebody sent you a strobing GIF, you'd have to click play to make it play.
Maybe he clicks every single one to make sure that it is not a strobing GIF. How can he see people?
Yeah, but when the actual image itself says you deserve a seizure, and
so
it's
why
saying
would you click it?
To play me, yeah, why would you click that? What would compel you to click that particular image?
To tell if it's a troll or an online terrorist, man.
There's a lot of weird stuff. I mean, even with the conversation you had with them talking about, oh well, you call me and then I'll talk to him and then he'll do a video and then everything's copacetic. I don't think that's going to look good in court for him. I mean, you put that in front of a judge or a jury and they're going to look at it and it looks like he's trying to strong arm people with threats of litigation to do what he wants. So it's just really bizarre.
That is exactly what it is. I mean, that's exactly what it is.
The thing with Diversity in Comics, it's like, I don't want you to tell people that I'm threatening to sue you. What I want you to do is to make this and say that I'm innocent. And after you make the video, I will show you my innocence, but not before then.
That didn't make any sense to me either. It was like, I'll show you.
I think soldiers are honest and have honor. So you will trust me on this one. I'm innocent. You make.
Well, I don't even know what he said. I don't even know what Diversity in Comics said that would even be lawsuit worthy. Because I listened to the video and the segments that basically upset Kurt, and everything that he said was echoed by news stories. So it's not like he's forming an opinion out of a malicious intent. This is stuff that was reported in NPR and Gawker and Huffington Post. I mean, Truth Revolt. So, I mean, you've got news outlets from both the left and the right wing, all saying kind of the same thing. There's some weird stuff about this. There's some inconsistencies about this. There's some doubts related to how he pursued the story. So, holding the opinion that there might be something weird about Kurt Eichenwald is not, not that hard to believe, especially if you read any news outlet that's ever reported on it.
And it's not something that nobody's ever heard before either. That's the first thing that you think, unfortunately, when you hear that name now. And it's his own fault. I mean, it's his own fault.
Even an Associated WikiLeaks Twitter account tweeted out that a story from an outlet saying that Kurt Eichenwald was the administrator of the child porn site. So
now, that wasn't in your video.
No, that was.
Was that in your video?
Yeah, second video, yeah.
Oh.
Second video, like around the 3 or 4 minute mark. Yeah, it had 7,000 retweets. So again, those kind of allegations and thoughts are already in the public discourse. I mean, they've already spread, they've proliferated because people are interested in talking about them. So it's not something that Diversity in Comics pulled out of his ass. It's something that's been out there for over a year in that regard.
Okay, well, Kurt invented a technique which is the reverse of damage control, which is damage amplify. And every time he gets in a pickle, he amplifies the damage by talking about the situation further.
Well, I mean, Kurt has very convenient excuses for when things go wrong. One great example is the Tucker Carlson clip. I mean, here he is on Tucker's show talking about secret messages from the CIA. And every time Tucker tries to pin him down on something, Kurt pulls out this giant, enormous white binder. It must have been about 11 inches thick that said Tucker Carlson's falsehoods. And he said he had all these documented cases of Tucker Carlson lying. Yet when the show concluded and he went on social media and people were making fun of him, he said, "Oh, I'll tell you what the message from the CIA was." And then the next message was, "Oops, I forgot to write it down." So here's a guy that's known for being meticulous, right? For detail oriented. I mean, that's one of the things that some of his peers and people that worked at the New York Times had as a criticism for Kurt when he talked about memory issues in regards to those payments to Justin Berry. Is they said, how can a guy that wrote pieces on stuff like Enron, that was just massive articles, massive investigations, how can somebody who did that suddenly forget about these payments? How could Kurt go on to national television, say something that he has a message from the CIA, and then forget that he wrote that down? It's ridiculous.
But my favorite, he's not really good at lying, is he? I mean, he is a pathological liar. You need to give him props for trying. But the fact that he keeps lying is what makes it worse. Like, people find out that he has a link to hentai. And it's like, who fucking cares? Like, yeah, I watch porn. And that's the end of it. But he has to say that it was to show it to his wife and kids.
That's
that's amazing.
Odd situation. Well, I wanted to look. I've heard from Kurt today, and I think that's why we're kind of live streaming. He did. Yeah, he's been DMing me all night long. I assume, I was just saying earlier that, like, it's like throwing a smoke bomb. He'll kind of throw something out there, and I think this relates directly to Metokur's new video series. They're two great videos. If you haven't watched them yet, you really should. They're called Internet Insanity, Kurt Eichenwald. So Kurt must have seen these, and his new thing is this. He sent this to me. And by the way, at this point, Kurt, it should be pretty clear to Kurt that, like, when he sends me these messages, these weird threatening messages, I do show them to people, because it's just like, I'm not going to hide your little threats, like, between us. These are threatening messages. People should know about them. And that's why I really respect the journalistic work that you're doing, Jim. I think that you're doing a lot for the community by bringing this out into the open. So I appreciate you. And it was really thoroughly investigated. But anyway, tonight I got a message from him that said this. It said, between us.
Hold on. Want me to share it on my screen so that people can?
Yeah. I'll read it while you share it. Okay.
Yeah. Just give me the link so I can.
Give me. Wait. I don't know.
Yeah.
Wait. Do you have it? I can't. I. Okay. Wait a second.
Screenshot it and I will share it.
I think I already sent it to you. Hold on a second.
For $2, has Eichenwald had another seizure yet?
All right, is this it?
Jim, any chance of a Rumble Woman video? Rob?
No, I've already got stuff planned that's coming up. I mean, I'm going to be doing one on, I think it's Wings of Redemption. And then possibly, like an addendum piece to that guy with the glasses because of what's going on there. And then I've got the school shooter one. I've got way too much on my plate to start stacking more on. People will complain endlessly because I'm way, way behind.
So I take it you're not going to make any video with the March for Our Lives clusterfuck?
No. I mean, I had a bit of a laugh, saying that the girl that puked on stage was a result of the event being sponsored by Arby's, but that's about it.
Oh, my favorite part is the girl with the Make-A-Wish Foundation haircut, which is a lesbian, and she is trying to take the guns away from people, and she's coming from a country where they took the guns away from gay people and before the government killed them. And she even has like the Cuban flag on her jacket. So I just find it adorable that a lesbian woman is having the Cuban flag.
Did you get the screenshot?
No. Oh, never mind. It came up.
Okay.
Right. So hold on while
I had all this momentum, Jim, and he totally dragged it to a halt. Did you notice that?
Yeah, my bad. Right. So go on. I'll share it on the screen.
Okay. So here's what it says. I got this message out of the blue, and it said, "Between us, your spelled you friend, really stepped in it. He worked with some guy putting together videos that have been inspiring people to launch strobe attacks against me to cause epileptic seizures. All of them are now in the hands of the FBI case agent and the Dallas district attorney. Don't tell DNC because I'm convinced he's crazy and will post everything, thus setting off more strobe attacks.
Just stop watching the internet, you twat.
But if it ends up he is directly involved, he's going to jail. I will never understand how people can be so stupid as to keep repeating the act that has already gotten one guy indicted by the feds and the state of Texas in 2 different criminal cases."
I like the drama voice you put.
Yeah, I'm really good at reading, dramatic reading, so I hope you enjoyed that.
Well, I like too that he put the FBI part in there when the case from the feds was dropped. It's just the state charges now. There are no federal charges against the guy that gifted him.
Well, in any case, it's very, very serious. So I said in response, I said, I don't understand how people can continue repeating the same mistake that bites them in the ass over and over again, seemingly in agreement. And you don't have this, but can I continue to read, V? Do you mind?
Yeah, go on.
Okay, everyone close your eyes and imagine that you're seeing these DMs. They are real. So he said, "It's not a mistake. It's an intentional act to harm."
Sorry.
V.
I'm dying.
This is very serious, V. All right. The strobes say, quote, "You deserve a seizure for your posts," unquote. This shit was done to everyone who went to the Epilepsy Support Board for Emotional Help in 2008. That's why every E in every is capitalized. Every one of these bastards is going to be tracked down, crucified. Which I thought was something to say the day after Easter. But listen, when I tell you that that the E in everything is capitalized, it's because like the Zodiac Killer, I like little mistakes like that might have some kind of significance. Jim, am I wrong or right?
Do you think this is the modern day equivalent of cutting letters from newspapers and gluing them together on a piece of paper?
Well, what do I know? I didn't ask for these messages, you know. I'm on the receiving end of them, and I'm just as baffled as you are. I didn't even know who he was talking about. At first I thought he meant, Jim, and then it became clear that it was DNC. Now, I have to say, for those of you listening, DNC, otherwise known as Zach, could not care less about any of this. Like honestly, he couldn't care less about any of this, nor could I. So this whole drama here was created by Kurt Eichenwald and inflicted on Zach and by proxy me. So I basically just said, he said everyone is going to be tracked down and crucified. I just said, get them. So he said, hopefully M, and that's EM, like apostrophe EM, won't be DNC. but he and his buddy did. Jim, you are his buddy, by the way.
Oh, it's good to know. Am I invited to sleepovers now? Is that how that works? We BFFs now? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pass that along.
Do you have matching pajamas?
Oh, we will. We will after this. It'll be prison stripes, but they'll match.
You know, I'm really curious. Like, do you think the FBI is going to get me from Romania?
The FBI.
so.
Here's the honest reality of this. If he really sent this into the FBI, they're going to look at it for maybe 10 minutes, and then not care. And that's the same with the Texas District Attorney. There's nothing here. There's nothing actionable about making fun of an idiot on the internet. And unless he can show that GIFs, flashing images came directly from DNC, from me, from you, they're not going to care. They're going to think he's insane. They're going to put it in the Nutter file with all the other people talking about like fucking chemtrails and aliens and shit.
Well, he is talking about someone that got convicted over this shit.
He's talking about Jew Goldenstein, which his real name is like Ravioli or Rivioli or something like that, which was the dude that sent him the GIF. And he made a big fuss about that. And, you know, Texas charged him and the FBI charged, or the feds charged him. And then the federal charges were dropped. And the state charges in Texas are still listed as assault with a deadly weapon with hate crime enhancement, which I think is going to get laughed out of court. So who knows how that's going to turn out.
Well, the way the law works in Romania, if you know someone is suffering from epileptic seizures and, you know, you show him something that triggers his epilepsy.
Well, I just hope, I hope that if this goes to trial, this guy's defense attorney is able to subpoena Twitter records to see if the settings were set so that Kurt would have had to manually click on a fucking image that told him he was going to get a seizure from a flashing GIF.
Yeah, it's probably not how the trial is going to go, yeah.
You know what I mean? He's going to look ridiculous. So who knows?
I will say, I mean, to everyone listening, and Diversity in Comics did already tweet this out, but we need to make it clear, this is not a dog whistle. Please do not send.
Well, no, because that according to Kurt is a dog whistle. So how exactly would Kurt like us to to express our concern over people sending him this shit?
Well, we are concerned. We're deeply concerned about it.
I don't give. Well, personally, I don't give a flying fuck. I'm not responsible for other people's actions. Tough shit, Kurt. If bad things happen to you, it's not me doing it. Live with it.
I disavow. I disavow, Jim. I don't know.
I'm not a living incarnation of a net nanny. I'm not here to help Kurt live and cope with his life on fucking Twitter. He's a big boy. He can do it.
I am absolutely speechless, and this is happening on Autism Awareness Day. I'm just astonished.
Yeah, it's just astonishing, shocking.
Do you know what I noticed? Like I was watching your, and I tweeted about this. I was watching your videos, and as I was watching them, I just felt the urge to give Kurt a strobe, and I didn't know why that is, right? But I think you added some subliminal message shit into your videos. Luckily, I read Loki. So
I'm fairly certain they're not going to extradite you from Romania for making a shitty journalist piss himself on Twitter. So I think
I wouldn't be too sure.
I think you're too sure.
Maybe I want to visit the U.S. and they'll send me to Guantanamo for sending, terrorist memes with the intention to kill.
The FBI will probably meet you at the border and shake your hand and say thank you for your service, and then give you a free pass into the country.
All right, should I keep going? Do you want to hear more of this?
Yeah, you're killing me, by the way. I don't know how Jim keeps a straight face, but...
All right, so anyway, hopefully M won't be DNC, but he and his buddy, that's Jim, did something to set off this new flurry of attacks. Now picture a snowstorm like a flurry of... That's the consistency of the attacks that he's suffering because of something that perhaps DNC and his buddy did. So, and given that law enforcement is crawling all over attacks on me, ... not smart. So I did want.
I imagine him in the middle, and if the FBI all around him trying to, keep away the strobes from happening.
Yeah, they're going to catch whoever is doing this. So I wanted to clarify. I said, "Who is his buddy?" And I said, "Look, come live stream with me and Zach, and let's work it out." Because I mean, really, my thing has always been, let's just talk this out. And maybe there's some hurt feelings and misunderstandings. Let's just talk about it. Let's talk it through. And anyway, so he answered, "Who is his buddy?" And he said, "Metokur ? Something like that. The strobers are referencing that name and DNC in their strobe. So Metokur, like Elvis's like 69 special with the big Elvis light behind him, that big display. Somebody is sending Kurt, apparently, evidently, allegedly, strobing gifts that say Metokur, like that.
Well, I think because Metokur is a Turkish word, this might be the work of foreign terrorists. Maybe have the FBI investigate that, Kurt, you fucking retard.
And then he said nothing to work out, so he is not interested in live streaming. He wasn't interested. I said, well, you know.
What exactly could he say? I mean, if he was here, what do you think he would have added to the conversation? Because the problem is that people literally don't believe that he's having strobes. In case you didn't get it, Kurt.
Well, I told him, I reassured him and said, there are no strobes in a live chat. So why don't you come in here and let's get it down on, you know, on video. And I said, I will enforce whatever boundaries you care to enforce. And I would. I definitely would.
Yeah, me too.
So, yeah. So he said.
Even turn off the super chats, by the way. If he would have.
I probably wouldn't, to be honest. I'd just be too busy laughing at him for an hour and a half.
But no, you know, no amount of money is worth the laughter I would have had if Kurt would have come here.
He never would have come here because the first thing I would have talked about is that FedEx payment, and I wouldn't have taken the my memory bullshit. I would have fucking had our conversation about why did she say you sent that money? Was that money used for Justin and friends? Did you have administrator access to that site? You know, yeah, that would have been a bad conversation.
He would have probably Tucker Carlsoned you, and it would be like, oh, you're interrupting me, you're not letting me finish.
Yeah, that would work really well. I'm sure Kurt would have won the day with that technique.
Well, it worked on Tucker, but the problem with Tucker is that he has a limited amount of time.
Well, no, the problem with Tucker is he's on television, so he can't say, hey, fucking retard, shut the fuck up. I have a question for you. But you could tell he really wanted to during that conversation with Kurt.
All right, so the next tweet, or the next DM, he says, I don't think it's on his channel. So I don't think it's on your, I think Metokur's channel. I think he helped somebody that then set this off. So you assisted someone in Kurt's.
I'm an accessory to internet gifting. Is that what Kurt's accusation is?
That is what he's saying, and he is receiving direct messages that are making him seize up.
Is he like a preteen boy? Like, is this a LARP or something? He's crying about assisted internet gifting because people are making fun of him.
He has concerns. He has concerns.
Oh, does he? He has a few concerns, does he? I think the rest of the world has a few concerns about him.
He's like the male version of Brianna Wu. Honestly, like the only other person that came up with this ridiculous shit and expected people to believe it with a straight face was Brianna Wu. It's like when her dog was dying and she couldn't just leave Twitter alone. And then she said that it's because of the abuse that she's getting because her dog died. And she actually had a newspaper that was meant for animals and companionship write a sob story about, you know, the misogynistic pieces of shit that made fun of a woman whose dog was dying. And it's almost the same thing. Like it was so blatant a lie, and now you have this gentleman over here who's like making lies and expecting people to believe them.
Well, I'm here to listen and believe. That's what I'm here to do, and that's what I'm doing. I'm so glad I missed Gamergate, by the way. I had nothing to do about that. I had no idea that was going on, and I feel glad of that fact.
Well, I missed ComicsGate. That's what pisses me off. I really wish ComicsGate would have kicked off a lot more, because you had actual people working at Marvel harassing a YouTuber, like stalking a small-time YouTuber that had at the time 30,000 subscribers or something like that, 20,000, I don't know. And he had Marvel editors going after him and planning ways to punch him in the face and get the guy arrested. It was just, I can't believe that it didn't kick off, honestly.
Well, it's still going. So, but he had more subscribers than they sold comics, and that was the problem. That's why he was literally. That's why I think he was.
It's so bad when you put it like that.
Oh, it's true.
We're talking about Marvel, right? Like we're not talking about a small-time indie company. You know, we're talking about like a comic book corporation that has superheroes that are famous even in Romania.
That's correct.
They can't sell more than 20,000 comics. That's just
apparently not. All right. So, anyway, so that's the interpretation of the FBI case agent to the messages sent to me with the strobes. I don't know what that means. DNC may just be an innocent who can't give up going at me, or crazy, but not my issue. Law enforcement will straighten it out. They have found whatever the video was that set this off. I'm not looking at it in case it has strobes. See, he learned.
So how does he know?
He learned.
So wait, is Kurt Eichenwald telling us that he made the FBI sit down and watch my internet insanity video on him? Because that is amazing. So. That's some good shit.
The FBI has kind of become his strobing gift food taster for internet videos. That's the service that the FBI is performing for Kurt.
The way he pictures it is like the FBI are his underlings, like they're his bitches.
Checking it for strobes.
Well, can somebody explain to me how it is the FBI is willing to waste time on something that's farcical like this, of some reporter getting angry about tweets on the internet, when, you know, there have been 2 school shooters now that had information sent to the FBI before they ever did the massacre, and they decided not to investigate that. But Kurt Eichenwald, who's getting made fun of on the internet, is suddenly getting FBI preferential treatment. That's something.
Did the kids have the blue check mark on Twitter? You know,
is that what protects them? Is that that what draws in the FBI like honey?
Yeah, that is literally it. If you don't have the blue check mark, the FBI doesn't take you seriously.
That's alarming. That's an alarming allegation.
Do you know speaking of the FBI, do you know the Orlando shooter, right? Who did the 2nd highest mass shooting in America in that Wall of Fame? Apparently, he wanted to purchase guns from a store, and the store owner didn't sell him and contacted the FBI. But the FBI said, it's just probably another case of Islamophobia. So again, you know, the FBI doesn't. Yeah.
All right. Well, they've got important things to do. I mean, Kurt Eichenwald needs protection on Twitter. They need the man hours for that.
It's the Britanization of America, because in Britain you have like 900 police officers that are.
God, can you imagine being the poor agent that had to sit down and watch a video about Kurt Eichenwald jacking off to tentacle porn because this idiot contacted them?
You probably found it amusing. You probably made the guy's day, man.
He's probably like, what am I doing with my life? I should have become CIA instead. Like, how the fuck did I find myself sitting at headquarters watching some washed up journalist whacking off to tentacle porn?
I think you got a subscriber. Listen, if you're an FBI agent, right, that's listening to this, contact Jim and tell him if you subscribed or not. Get your thumbs up or thumbs down the video.
I think he's got the CIA too, though, to be honest with you. I don't think there's any respite.
No, he must have the CIA, because now he probably wants to go after me. He's going to send the paramilitary team in order to get me from Romania.
Oh my gosh, this is just getting more and more crazy. So we should straighten this out. He said, so this is all out of my hands. If all they did was make fun of me, and mention the strobes, probably not a problem. Probably
is not sure.
If they encouraged people to do it or gave them instructions on how to do it, I would not want to be them. So I said, me either, and I'm not. So come on and talk to us. And he said, I don't think I should talk about it. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if he inspired people to attack me or encouraged them to do it. I don't know if he is sane with a capital S or crazy with a lowercase c. And I don't want to step into something that might disrupt the criminal case that's already going on.
Okay, listen, if you have a premium account on Jim's channel, right, if you're on his Patreon and you opted for the premium version, there is a list of instructions on how to give strobes. Isn't that right,
Well,
Jim?
I can neither confirm nor deny this. I want the FBI to earn their paycheck. Now, did you see the screen cap from earlier from 4chan's Polvi?
No.
Somebody showed up in a thread talking about Kurt Eichenwald, screaming that there's no proof and that all these people are being
Hold
assholes.
on, I'll show it. Hold on, let me find it.
Yeah, because it's that last post that really is the award winner out of the whole string of this person's tirade. Just tell me once you. It's on my timeline. It's like
but I'll need to give it to Ethan because he does the dramatic reading better than I do.
Well,
no, I don't want to. I don't want to read it. It's the last portion that's I think relevant. So I'm gonna read that very last post.
Okay.
because this is one he deleted in the middle of this long tirade. There has to be a logical reason why I would shut down instead of just going if I was in on it, right? So he mistyped. That's apparently Kurt Eichenwald on 4chan getting angry at people making fun of him and trying to pretend to be somebody else. And that's all archived.
Yeah, and
Wow.
from what I see, instead of editing, right? Because I don't think you can edit your post. He posted again, and then he replaced I with we, and you see like the message one above, one next to the other.
Yeah, he tried to be real slick about it, like, oopsie, I made a little boo boo there, but it's okay.
Yikes.
He must have had a stroke and forgot.